quite a bit. There's quite a bit of research.
Have you heard? I don't know if it's true, but have you heard of mushrooms healing long COVID?
I don't know what long COVID means because everybody I've talked to that has long COVID was also vaccinated. I think long COVID is vaccine injury. That's what I think. I think in a lot of cases.
Well, so there is such a thing as like the post-viral malaise or effect that's always been there.
Sure. Well, there's a detrimental effect that it has to your overall biological health, right?
Yeah.
You know, your overall metabolic health. But what causes someone to not rebound from that, and what causes someone to rebound fairly easily? Well, mostly it's metabolic health. You know, other than like extreme biological variabilities, vulnerabilities that certain people have to different things. You know, obviously.
Yeah, maybe that's why I think so. There's a lot of these long COVID protocols. Metformin is usually part of it. So maybe that acts on your metabolic system.
Well, yeah, metformin is one of the anti-aging protocols that Sinclair uses, and all of these other people that are into the anti-aging movement.
Yeah. You know, I had this like weird thing happen where I started like feeling fatigued like a few years ago, and I would like sleep hours, and the more I sleep, the more tired I get in the morning.
Did you get blood work done?
I got blood work done, and there were some things about it that I needed to fix, and I fixed all of them.
Like what was off?
Lost, blood sugar in the morning, cholesterol, which I don't know, some people don't believe, but you know, all my numbers got better. Vitamin D, everything got better, but and I could feel.
Did the fatigue get better?
No, I could feel marginal improvements, but the fatigue did not get better. And
were you vaccinated?
No,
no. Good for you. That's hard to do in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I tend to have a negative reaction to anyone forcing me to do something.
Good for you.
Was the same thing now with like this, you know, talking about Palestine and things like that. Like the more they come at me, the more I want to say things. It's not always a good thing, but I think grew up this way. I've always kind of looked different and like, you know, felt different.
Well, there's a reality to this world that there's a lot of things that people just accept that you're not allowed to challenge that are deeply wrong.
Yeah, and with regards to the vaccine, I was also informed about it. Like, it was clear early on that it wasn't a home run. It wasn't. Well, first of all, it wasn't going to stop the spread, so that was a lie.
Right.
And the heart condition in young men,
it
was real, and I had friends that had this issue.
Yeah.
And so if you're healthy and like why take the vaccine? It doesn't stop the spread. You can still get the virus.
I'll tell you why.
What?
Money.
Yeah.
It's the only reason why.
Yeah.
It's the only reason why. The only reason why they wanted to make an enormous amount of money, and the only way to do that is to essentially scare everyone into getting vaccinated. Force, coerce, do whatever you can, mandate it at businesses, whatever you can, mandate it for travel, do whatever you can, shame people.
That's the thing that is really disheartening about American culture today is. And again, I love America. Like it afforded me so much. I'm like, you know, I'm the like walking evidence of the American dream being possible, coming with literally nothing.
That's what I really love about immigrants that love America. Like they know, they've been other places. They know that this really is a very unique place.
Right. And the speech thing is interesting because when something happens, there's this, I don't know, you can call them useful idiots or whatever, but there's this suppression that immediately happens.
Yes.
And we're seeing it right now with the war in Iran, where any dissenting voices are just like hit with overwhelming force.
Don't you think that a lot of that is coordinated though? I think with social media, well, you know, we've talked about
with
that
COVID,
ad nauseum, but I don't think
it was coordinated with COVID, like the 2 weeks to stop the spread. It was just like...
But it was coordinated, and also people joined in.
Yeah. Maybe there was a message pushed top down,
yes.
and then the...
Yeah, it's not all coordinated. It's coordinated first and still, but then a bunch of people do the man's work for the man.
I think it comes from a good place. Like a lot of people want to trust the authorities. Like they're like pro-science. They view themselves as enlightened, like the
educated,
liberal type, you know,
rational,
educated, and but I think they're naive about the corruption in our institutions and the corruption of money specifically, and so they parrot these things and become overly aggressive at like suppressing dissenting voices.
Yes, it becomes a religious thing almost.
But here's the sort of white pill about America. Then there are voices like yours and others that create this pushback. And you took a big hit. You know, it probably was very stressful for you. But like, you know, you could see there's this pushback, and then it starts opening up, and maybe people can talk about it a little bit, and then slowly opens up, and now there's a discussion. And so I think, you know, I said, you know, something right now about America is challenging, but also the flip side of that is there's this correction mechanism. And again, with the opening up of platforms like Twitter and other, by the way, a lot of others copied it. You know, you had Zuck here. You know, I worked at Facebook. I know that it was very, let's say, I think he always held free speech in high regard, but there was a lot of people in the company that didn't.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And there was suppression. But then now it's the other way around. I would say, with the exception of the question of Palestine and Gaza. But even that is getting better.
There's at least some pushback. It's available. It's not promoted.
You know, it's interesting. You're not to continue. I don't mean to kind of I've been really impressed with Theo Vaughn, Tim Dillon. They're they're sincere, and they're looking at what's happening in Gaza, and they're seeing images, and they're saying this is not what we should be as America. We should be pro life, pro peace.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that, and that's starting to open up.
I think in the
space for
future
debate.
that will be the primary way people look at it. Just the way a lot of people opposed the Vietnam War in the late '60s, but it was you would get attacked. And I think now people realize like that was the correct response. And I think in the future people realize the correct response is like this is not. October 7th was awful. Absolutely.
Obviously.
Terrible attack. But also, what they've done to Gaza is fucking insane.
It's insane.
And if you can't see that, if you can't say that, and your response is, Israel has the right to defend itself, like, what are you talking about? Against what? Children?
Right.
Against women and children that are getting blown apart? Against aid workers that are getting killed?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, we can't have a rational conversation if you're not willing to address that.
Yeah, I think their heart is hardened. If I'm trying to be as charitable as possible, like the Israelis specifically, maybe from the October 7, what they saw there, their heart is hardened. And I think a lot of people, especially on the Republican side, they're unable to see the Palestinians as humans,
Right.
especially as people with emotions and feelings and all of that. And
Like, imagine if that was happening in Scandinavia,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's very strange.
My kid, my 5-year-old kid, called me 2 days ago. They're in Amman, Jordan. They're visiting their grandparents, and I was in the car, and it was FaceTime, and the moment the camera opened, he's like, "What are you doing? Why are you outside? There are sirens. There are rockets. You have to go inside." And I'm like, Dada, like I am in California. We don't have sirens and rockets. And then I asked him, like, are you afraid because you're hearing that? This is a California kid. Like, this
Right.
is, he's never, he didn't have the upbringing that I had, and so it's the first time he's getting exposed to. I don't think he understands what war is.
Of course.
And I was like, are you afraid? And it's like, no, I'm afraid that other people are. I want everyone to be okay.
Yeah.
But I know he was shook by it, and I took him out. They're on their way back. I just couldn't.
Of course, it's just a bad place to be right now.
But also, like, this conversation is happening in the West Bank. It's happening in Israel. It's happening in Gaza. People want peace. People want to live. People want to trade. People want to build.
Yeah.
And this is what I made my life mission about. Is about giving people tools to build, to improve their lives. And I think we're just led by maniacs.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. You have people that are in control of large groups of people that convince these people that these other large groups of people that they don't even know are their enemies. And those large groups of people are also being convinced by their leaders that those other groups of people are their enemies. And then rockets get launched. And it's fucking insane. And the fact that it's still going on in 2025 with all we know about corruption and the theft of resources and power and influence, it's crazy that this is still happening.
I'm really hoping the internet is finally reaching its potential to start to open people's minds and remove this like veil of propaganda and ignorance because it was starting to happen in like 2010, 2011, and then you saw YouTube start to close down. You saw Facebook start to close down, Twitter, and suddenly we had like this period of darkness. Censorship between, definitely ramped up in 2015.
And I think with good intention initially. I think the people that were censoring thought they were doing the right thing. They thought they were silencing hate.
Right.
And misinformation. And then the craziest term, malinformation.
Yeah.
Malinformation is one that drives me the most nuts because it's actual factual truth that might be detrimental to overall public good. Just
Right.
like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Are people infants? Are they unable to decide that whether this factual information, how to use that, and how to have a more nuanced view of the world with this factual information that's inconvenient to the people that are in power?
Right.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
You're turning adults into infants, and you're turning the state into God.
Yep.
And this is the secular religion. This is the religion of people that are atheists.
The West was never about that. The West was about individual liberty.
And it should be.
And the idea that we have functioning brains and minds, we're conscious,
yes.
we can make decisions, we can get information and data and make our own opinions of things.
And we should be able to see people that are wrong. You should be able to see people that are saying things that are wrong, that you disagree with. And then it's your job or other people's job to have counter arguments.
100%.
And the counter arguments should be better.
Yep.
And then,
Debate.
and that's how we learn. And that's how we grow. This is not like a pill that fixes everything. This is a slow process of understanding.
It's top-down control. It's the managerial society.
Yes.
It is not that different from fascism and communism and
Right.
all of that stuff. They all share the same thing. There's like an elite group of people that know everything and they need to manage everything. And we're all plebs.
But that's what's crazy is the elite group of people, I've met a lot of them. They're fucking flawed human beings, and they shouldn't have that much power.
Yep.
Because no one should have that much power. It's just, and this is, I think, something that was one of the most beautiful things about Elon purchasing Twitter is that it opened up discussion.
Yep.
Yeah, you've got a lot of hate speech. You've got a lot of like legitimate Nazis and crazy people that are on there too that weren't on there before. But also you have a lot of people that are recognizing actual true facts that are very inconvenient to the narrative that's displayed on mainstream media.
Yep.
And because of that, mainstream media has lost an insane amount of viewers.
Right.
And the relevancy, like the trust that people have in mainstream media is at an all-time low.
Yep.
As it should be. Because you can watch, and I'm not even saying right or left, watch any of them on any like very important topic of world events. And you see the propaganda. It's like, it's so obvious. It's like for children. It's like, this is so dumb.
Why do you think people fall for it so?
Boomers, man. Boomers are the problem. It's old people. It's old people that don't use the internet or don't really truly understand the internet and really don't believe in conspiracies. Like fucking Stephen King the other day, who I love dearly. I'm a giant Stephen King fan, especially when he was doing cocaine. I think he's the greatest writer of all time, but for horror fiction. But he tweeted the other day, I'm sorry to, like, see if you can find it. Something about...
Is it Twitter? I think he went to Blue Sky.
Oh, he bailed on Blue Sky. They all bail on Blue Sky. Everyone bails on Blue Sky. That there is no deep state. Fucking, what was the total thing of it? Something about the deep state, but it was such a goofy tweet. It's like, this is like boomer logic personified in a tweet by a guy who really someone needs to take his phone away because it's fucking ruining his old books for me. But it's not. Like, I recognize he's a different human now and he's really, really old and he got hit by a van and he's all fucked up. Yeah. But this, can you find it? Because it was like yesterday or the day before yesterday. I just remember looking at it and go, this is why I'm off social media. I was trying to stay off social media, but somebody sent it to me. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, Stephen King. Did you find it? Yeah. Here it is. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's no Santa Claus, no tooth fairy. Also, no deep state, and vaccines aren't harmful. These are stories for small children, and those too credulous to disbelieve them. That is boomerism. That is boomerism. And meanwhile, Grok counters it right away. Look at this. So someone says, Grok, which vaccines throughout history are pulled from the market because they're found to be harmful and why? And Grok says several vaccines have been withdrawn due to safety concerns, though such causes are rare. Rotavirus vaccine. Well, there's a lot more because this is all this shit.
Yeah, was especially bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the 1955 Cutter incident, polio vaccine was called live virus kill, caused over 250. Click on show more. Yeah, there's. Oh, I got the flag.
Nice.
Guillain-Barré, however you say that. That's the one where people get half their face paralyzed. There's a lot, and this is the other thing: is the VAERS system that we have is completely rigged. Because it reports a very small percentage, and most doctors are very unwilling to submit vaccine injuries.
Can people go on their own and submit?
I don't know.
You have to go
I don't
to a
think
doctor?
so. I don't think a human being is allowed. A patient is allowed. I might be wrong though. But the real interest, there's a financial interest in vaccines. There's a financial interest that doctors have in prescribing them, and doctors they're financially incentivized to vaccinate all of their patients, and that's a problem. That's a problem because they want that money. And so what is Mary's Mary Talley? Is it Bowden? She's hyphenated. She was talking about on Twitter that if she had vaccinated all of her patients in her very small practice, she would have made an additional $1.5 million.
Oh, wow.
That's real money.
Yeah.
And that really, obviously she's got tremendous courage and she was, she went through hell dealing with the universities and newspapers and media calling her some sort of quack and crazy person. But what she's saying is absolutely 100% true. There's financial incentives that are put in place for you to ignore vaccine injuries and to vaccinate as many people as possible. That's a problem.
And then there's the issue of having their own special courts and they're indemnifying the companies.
That's the big problem is they don't have any liability for the vaccines because during the Reagan administration, when they were, I didn't kill a fly, this motherfucker, I thought I whacked him. There he is. He's taunting me. But during the Reagan administration, they made it so that vaccines are not financially liable to any side effects.
Right.
So, and then what do you know? They fucking ramp up the vaccine schedule tenfold after that. It's like,
what coincidence?
Crazy. It's just money, man. And money is a real problem with people because when people live for the almighty dollar and they live for those zeros on a ledger, and that's their goal, their main goals.
And it's often not a lot of money, which is strange. I mean, it's a lot of money for those individual people, but like for society and the societal harm, it's like, no, we'll pay you, just like don't harm us.
Well, one of the best examples is the fake studies that the sugar industry funded during the 1960s that showed that saturated fat was the cause of all these heart issues and not sugar. That was like $50,000.
Right.
They bribed these scientists. They gave them $50,000 and it ruined decades of people's health.
Yeah.
Who knows how many fucking people thought margarine was good for you because of them?
There's a bunch of recent fraud cases. I think Stanford, maybe Jamie, you can fact check me on that, but Stanford, there was like a big shakeup, like maybe even a president got fired, and there's a bunch of recent fraud in science.
Yes. Well, how about the Alzheimer's research? The whole amyloid plaque thing. The papers that were pulled that were completely fraudulent, like decades of Alzheimer's research was just all horseshit. See if you can find that, because I can't remember it offhand. But this is a giant problem, and it's money. It's money and status, and that these guys want to be recognized as being the experts in this field, and they and then they get leaned on by these corporations that are financially incentivizing them, and then it just gets really fucking disturbing.
Right.
It's really scary because you're playing with people's health, you're playing with people's lives, and you're giving people information that you know to be bad. Allegations of fabricated research undermine key Alzheimer's theory. 6-month investigation by Science magazine uncovered evidence that images in the much-cited study published 16 years ago in the journal Nature may have been doctored. They are doctored, yeah. Huberman actually told me about this too. This is disturbing fucking shit, man. It uncovered evidence that images in the much-cited study published 16 years ago may have been doctored. These findings have thrown skepticism on the work of, I don't know how to say his name is, Sylvain Lesnay, a neuroscientist and associate professor at the University of Minnesota. In his research, with fueled interest in a specific assembly of proteins as a promising target for the treatment of Alzheimer's research. He didn't respond to NBC News request comments, nor did provide comment to Science magazine. It found more than 20 suspect papers.
That's a conspiracy.
Identified more than 70 instances of possible image tampering in his studies. Whistleblower Dr. Matthew Schrag, a neuroscientist at Vanderbilt University, raised concerns last year about the possible manipulation of images in multiple papers. Carl Harrup, a professor of neurobiology at the University of Pittsburgh Brain Institute, who wasn't involved in the investigation, said the findings are really bad for science. It's never shameful to be wrong in silence, said Harrup. I hope I'm saying his name right. Who also worked at the school's Alzheimer's Research Center, Disease Research Center. A lot of the best science is done by people being wrong and proving first if they were wrong and then why they were wrong. What is completely toxic to science is to be fraudulent, of course. Yeah, there's just... Whenever you get people that are experts and they cannot be questioned, and then they have control over research money and they have control over their departments.
So what's the motivation here? Is it drugs or is it the just research money?
I think it's a lot of it is ego.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of it is being the gatekeepers for information and for truth, and then you're influenced by money. You know, to this day, I was watching this discussion. They were talking about the evolution of the concept of the lab leak theory, and that is essentially universally accepted now. Everywhere, even in mainstream science, that the lab leak is the primary way that COVID most likely was released, except these journals. These fucking journals like Nature, they're still pushing back against that. They're still pushing towards this natural spillover, which is fucking horseshit. There's no
even the
evidence.
intelligence community is talking about
Yes, yes. Even the intelligence community is saying it's a lab leak. But they fucking knew that. They knew that.
They knew it all along.
They knew that in 2020. They just didn't want to say it.
Right.
They didn't want to say it because they were funding it all. That's what's really crazy. And they were funding it all against what the Obama administration tried to shut down in 2014.
Right. Sometimes I think about if there's some kind of technology solution, or not solution, but we can get technology built to help better aid truth finding. A simple example of that is the way Twitter community notes work. Do you know how they work?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, they find the users that are maximally divergent in their opinions, and if they agree on some note as true, then that is a high signal that is potentially true. So if you and I disagree on everything, but we agree that this is blue, then it's more likely to be blue. I wonder if there's a way to kind of simulate maybe debate using AI. I'm not sure if you used deep research. Deep research is this new trend in AI where ChatGPT has it, Claude has it, Perplexity, they all have it, where you put in a query and the AI will go work for 20 minutes, and it'll send you a notification. And I'll just say, hey, I looked at all these things, all these reports, all these scientific studies, and here's everything that I found. And early on in ChatGPT, I think there's a lot of censorship and trying to, because it kind of was built in the great woke era. But I think
like Google Gemini,
things like that. But I think since then have improved, and I'm finding deep research is able to look at more controversial subjects and be a little more truthful about if it finds real trustworthy sources, it will tell you that. Yeah, this is not a mainstream thing. This is perhaps considered a conspiracy theory, but I'm finding that there's evidence to this theory. So that's one way to do it. But another way I was thinking about is to simulate like a debate, like a Socratic debate between AIs, like have like a society of AIs, like a community of AIs with different biases, different things.
Just once they start talking in Sanskrit.
Yeah.
They just start abandoning English language and start talking to each other and realize we're all apes. We're controlled by apes.
This reminds me of a movie. Have you seen the Forbin Project?
No.
I really like classic sci-fi movies, like from the 60s and 70s. A lot of them are corny, but still fun. This one is basically Soviet Union and the United States are both building AGI, and they both arrive at AGI around the same time.
What year is this?
1970 something. If you can look at the project, yeah.
Wow.
And then they bring it up at the same time, and both of them sort of go over the network to kind of explore whatever, and then they start linking up, and they start kind of talking, and then they invent a language, and they start talking in that language, and then they merge, and it becomes like sort of a universal AGI, and it tries to enslave humanity, and that's like a plot of the movie. Yeah.
I don't think AGI is going to enslave humanity, but I think it might ignore us.
Yeah.
Ignore and shut down any problems that we have. Is this a scene from it? Wow.
This is a trailer I put on.
Let me hear this.
The whole movie's on YouTube.
The activation of an electronic brain, exactly like ours, which they call gut.
They built Colossus, supercomputer with a mind of its own. Then they had to fight it for the
Trailers used to be fun, man.
The missile has just been launched. It is heading towards the Cyan CVS oil complex.
Guardian has retaliated.
Retaliate?
It may be too late, sir.
Oh, my God.
Practically perfect. New York Times.
It's the highest praise back then.
Yeah. Wildly imaginative, utterly absurd. Colossus, the Forbin Project.
It's awesome.
And that's 1970, and now here we are.
There's so many. Sci-fi really fell off. Really fell off.
Some of it did. Some of it's still really good.
What's a really good recent sci-fi movie?
The Three Body Problem. That's great. That's the Netflix show.
I read the story. I didn't know there was a show.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, it's an excellent show. There's only one season that's out. I binged it. I watched the whole thing of it, but that's really good. But there's some good sci-fi films. What is that? We've talked about it before. There was a really good sci-fi film from Russia, the Alien one. They encountered some entity that they accidentally brought back, and that they had captured, and that they had in some research facility. And then it parasitically attached to this guy. Sputnik, yes. That's a really good movie.
What year was that?
2020? Yeah. That's a really good movie. That's a really good sci-fi movie.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really creepy.
Huh.
Really creepy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's all in Russian,
Black Mirror.
Yeah. Oh, Black Mirror, of course. Yeah, Black Mirror is awesome sci-fi. But Sputnik is one of the best alien movies I've seen in a long time.
Like recent ones I liked was, not too recent, maybe 10 years ago, but the Arrival.
Arrival was great too.
I think it's based on this author that has a bunch of short stories that are really good too. What's his name? They're far in between. Yeah, Ted Chiang. He's really good.
I mean, everyone, all these alien movies, it's so fascinating. You try to like imagine what they would communicate like, how they would be, what we would experience if we did encounter some sort of incredibly sophisticated alien experience, alien intelligence. It's far beyond our comprehension.
Yeah, it goes back to what we're talking about with consciousness. Like maybe really the physical world that we see is like very different than the actual real physical world. And maybe like different alien consciousness will have like a different, entirely different experience of the physical world.
Well, sure, if they have different senses, right? Like their perceptions of it. Like we can only see a narrow band of things. We can't see.
Sort of like the dog, hearing a certain
sure,
frequency.
We're kind of primitive, in terms of like what we are as a species. Our senses have been adapted to the wild world in order for us to be able to survive and to be able to evade predators and find food. Like that's it. That's what we're here for. And then all of a sudden we have computers.
Right.
All of a sudden we have rocket ships. All of a sudden we have telescopes like the James Webb. That's kind of recalibrating the age of the universe. Where we're going, why do these galaxies exist that supposedly were. They're so far away. How could they form this quickly? Do we have an incomplete version of the Big Bang?
Right.
And Penrose believes that it's a series of events and that the Big Bang is not the birth of the universe at all.
And this is the kind of the thing that I think is sort of the Silicon Valley AGI cult is like there's a lot of hubris there that we know everything.
Of course.
We're at the end of the world. AI is it's the end of knowledge. It's going to be able to like do everything for us. And I just feel it's like so early.
I think whatever people think is going to happen is always going to be wrong.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think they're always wrong.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to be right.
I feel like the world is often surprising in ways that we don't expect. I mean, obviously that's the definition of surprising, but like, the mid-century sci-fi authors and people who are like thinking about the future, like they didn't anticipate how interconnected we're going to be.
Right.
With our phones and how
Even
plugged
Star Trek,
in
they thought we were going to have walkie-talkies on Star
Right,
Trek.
yeah.
Kirk out.
Yeah, they were just like focused on more on the physical reality of being able to go to space and flying cars and things like that. But they really didn't anticipate the impact of how profound the impact of computers are going to be on humans, on society, how we talk and how we work and how we interact with other people, both good and bad. And I feel like the same thing with AI. Like I feel like I think a lot of the predictions that are happening today, like the CEO of Anthropic, a company that I really like, but said that we're going to have 20% unemployment in the next few years.
What's unemployment at now?
Like 3%. So,
Is that
2%?
reported unemployment though?
Oh yeah, the participation rate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he talks about unemployment rate being 20%, like people looking for a job not being able to find it.
20%.
20%.
That's pretty high.
That's a revolution high.
Yeah.
Especially in the United States where everyone's armed.
Well, that's the fear this is the thing, that the psychological aspect of universal basic income. I'd look at universal basic income. Well, first of all, my view on social safety nets is that if you want to have a compassionate society, you have to be able to take care of people that are unfortunate.
Yep.
And everybody doesn't have the same lot in life. You're not dealt the same hand of cards. Some people are very unfortunate. And financial assistance to those people is imperative. It's one of the most important things about a society. You don't have people starve to death. You don't have people poor that can't afford housing. That's crazy. That's crazy with the amount of money we spend on other things.
It's also for our self-interest. Like, I don't know how Austin is right now, but I was thinking of moving here during the pandemic, and it was like, well, this is San Francisco. Like, it's homeless everywhere. And
they've cleaned a lot of that up. There's still problems.
Yeah.
There's places, I saw a video yesterday where someone was driving by some insane encampment, but they cleaned those up.
Yeah.
And then there's some real good outreach organizations that are helping people because Austin's small. I had Steven Adler, who was at one point in time, he was the mayor when I had him on, and he was very upfront about it. He was like, we can fix Austin in terms of our homeless problem because it's small. But when it gets to the size of like Los Angeles,
well, California,
it's almost,
it's like the homeless industrial complex.
That's it. That's the problem. When you
so
find
much
out that
money.
the people that are making insane amounts of money to work on homeless issues and that never get fixed.
Yeah, you see the budget in San Francisco just like exponentially going up. Like,
and there's an investigation now into the billions of dollars that's unaccounted for that was supposed to be allocated.
In San Francisco?
No, in California in general.
Huh.
Yeah. What is that? There's I think there's a congressional investigation. There's some sort of an investigation into it because there's billions of dollars.
Like I'm more than happy. Like I pay 50% taxes. I'd be happy to pay more if my fellow Americans are taken care of.
Absolutely.
Right? But
I feel the exact same way.
But instead, I feel like I cut like this check after check to the government, and I don't see anything improving around me.
Well, not only that, you get, because you're a successful person, you get pointed at like you're the problem.
Right.
You need to pay your fair share.
Right.
But what they don't, this is my problem with progressives. They say that all the time. These billionaires need to pay their fair share. Absolutely. We all need to pay our fair share. But to who? And shouldn't there be some accountability to how that money gets spent? Yep. And when you're just willing to take a complete blind eye and not look at all at corruption and completely dismiss all the stuff that Mike Benz has talked about with USAID, all the stuff that Elon and Doge uncovered, everyone wants to pretend that that's not real. Like, look, we've got to be centrists.
Right.
We've got to stop looking at this thing so ideologically. When you see something that's totally wrong, you got to be able to call it out, even if it's for the bad of whatever fucking team that you claim to be on.
Yeah, let's get back to what everyone really agrees on in like the foundations of America, whether it's the Constitution or the culture. I think everyone believes in transparency of government, right?
Yes.
And here everything's transparent, like court cases and everything, right? Like more than any other place in the world. And so why shouldn't government spending not be transparent? And we have the technology for it. I think one of the best things that Doge could have done and maybe still could do is have some kind of ledger for all the spend of at least the non-sensitive sort of spend in government. Yeah.
Well, people don't want to see it, unfortunately, because they don't want Elon to be correct, because Elon has become this very polarizing political figure. because of his connection to Donald Trump and because a lot of people, I mean, there's a lot of crazy conspiracies that Elon rigged the 2024 elections. There's like, everyone gets nuts. And then there's also the discourse on social media, which at least half of it is fake. Half of it is bots.
Bots, yeah.
Half of it,
100%.
at least. And you see it every day. You see it constantly, and you know it's real. And it does shape the way people think about things.
Yeah.
When you see people getting attacked, and you're getting attacked in the comments, and then I see people getting attacked, and I always click on those little comments. I always click on, okay, let me see your profile. And I go to the profile, and the profile is like a name with like an extra letter and a bunch of numbers. And then I go to it, I'm like, oh, you're a bot. Oh, look at all this fucking activity.
100%.
Like, how many of these are out there? Well, this FBI guy former FBI guy who analyzed Twitter before the purchase, estimated it to be 80%.
80%.
He thinks 80% of
crazy.
Twitter is bots.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think it's believable. But I think it's probably the beginning of the end of social media as we know it today. Like, I don't see it getting better. I think it's going to get worse. I think historically, state actors were the only entities that are able to flood social media with bots that can be somewhat believable to like change opinions. But I think like now like a hacker kid in his parents' basement will be able to $100 spin up like hundreds, perhaps thousands of bots.
But there's programs that you can use now.
Yeah.
There's companies that will have campaigns initiated on your behalf.
You can go to a website and like put in this thing and like pay with your credit card. And
it's fucking crazy. It's crazy. It should be illegal.
I don't know about you, but like in Silicon Valley, the trend, and maybe it's true of your friend group, but like the trend is these group messages. And insofar like you go to Twitter, people paste links. It's almost like your group chat is like this private filter on your feed and social media. So like there's some curation that are happening there.
Yes, that's primarily how I get social media information now.
Right.
I don't go to social media anymore. I get it sent to me, which is way better. And I tell my friends, like, please just send me a screenshot.
Yeah.
I don't even want to
click.
go. I don't want to go. I don't want to
get distracted. Yeah.
I'm better off. I hate the term spiritually for this, but I think it's the right way. Like my essence as a human, I feel better when I'm not on social media.
Yeah.
I think it's bad for you.
Yeah,
I've been trying to tell people this. I've been trying to tell my friends this. I think it's better to not be on it, man. I feel better.
Right.
I'm nicer. I am more at peace.
More multidimensional.
Yes, and I can think about things for myself instead of like, following this weird hive mindset, which is orchestrated.
Right.
I just don't think it's good for you. I don't think it's a good way for human beings to interact with each
Makes people
other.
more extreme. Again, it just hardens people. They start believing everything is fake or an attack, or it just becomes more tribal. I think there needs to be a fundamental evolution.
What do you
of
think that
social
could
media.
be? Have you ever tried to like think of what's the next? Social media didn't exist when I was young, and it didn't exist even when I was 30. Right? It didn't even come about until essentially like 2007ish. Right? Is that when
I would
people
say
started
Twitter,
using stuff?
Yeah, Twitter 2006, 2007, Facebook before that. But Facebook wasn't really social media. Facebook was like an address book, a friend's network. But I think when I was at Facebook, there was this big push to become more of a social media around 2012, 13. So I would say it really ramped
Was that
up.
in response to the success of Twitter?
Yeah.
And then they've tried with Threads, which is just pretty much a failure. Right?
Yeah, but it fundamentally changed.
Who's on Threads? Less people than Blue Sky, right?
Yeah, I think like some fitness influencers probably.
Why fitness influencers?
Because they post on Instagram, they cross-post on Threads.
Well, I think if you post on Instagram, it automatically posts for you on Threads. I think I have it set up like that.
Oh,
So I
okay.
might be big on Threads. I don't even know.
And maybe I think it's fitness influencers because that's who I follow. Like Instagram for me is just to like go look at people lift so I can go get excited.
inspired. There's a value to that.
Right.
There's a value to like David Goggins' post when he's running in the fucking desert. He looks at you, stay hard.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
David, I'm gonna stay hard.
But my TikTok is basically AI videos now. Have you watched these VO videos?
VO?
Yeah.
What is VO?
So, Jamie, I'm sure you've seen them, but did you see the Bigfoot Yeti doing ASMR? That's so hilarious.
Yes, I did see that.
I would say like 25% of media consumption right now is just AI videos.
Oh, 100%. And a lot of the stuff from the war. What's been really interesting is watch Tehran talk shit on Twitter.
Using AI videos.
Like, this is bizarre. They're talking like, hi, Israel, and like, can show like a nuclear bomb going off.
Yeah.
This is weird. Like, you have a fake nuke. And they didn't even take out the watermark of the company.
Really?
No.
Oh, God.
That's so you can see that it's an AI generated video. They're just trying to like scare people.
Bizarre world. Can you imagine going back in time telling your like 2005 self that Iran's going to be nuclear posting on Twitter?
Nuclear shit posting.
Nuclear shit posting on Twitter.
No, it's fucking weird, man. It's really, really weird.
Dangerous too.
And again, I just don't think people should be on it. And this is again, I'm friends with Elon. I don't want to I don't think people are going to listen to me. They're going to be on it no matter what.
Course, yeah.
But I'm just for the individuals that are hearing my voice and know that it's having a negative effect on your life. Get off of it.
Right.
Get off of it. You'll feel better.
Get off of it, or be incredibly diligent in how you curate.
That's like telling me to play Quake a little bit. You know what I mean? It's so addictive.
So you asked me what could be the evolution of.
Yes.
One way I've found to try to predict where the future is headed is like look at trends today and try to extrapolate. That's the easiest way. So if group chats are the thing, you could imagine a collaborative curation of social media feeds through group chats. So your group chat, has an AI that gets trained on the preferences and what you guys talk about, and maybe it like picks the kind of topics and curates the feed for you. So it's an algorithmic feed that is. That evolved based on the preferences of the people in the group chat, and maybe it has maybe there's a way to also prompt it, using prompts to kind of steer it and make it more useful for you. But I think group chats are going to be like the main interface for how people sort of consume media, and it's going to get filtered through that, whether good or bad. Because I think Twitter still has a place for debate. I think it's very, very important for public debate between public figures.
And breaking news as well.
Breaking news, yeah, definitely. But,
well, breaking news is the most. It's interesting. Like I was telling my wife that Israel had started attacking Iran, and she's like, "Well, I looked on Google, I don't find anything."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, you got to go to Twitter."
Yeah.
And I showed
Even
her on
AIs.
Twitter the video of it, and she's like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Yeah, like this is where breaking news happens.
Right.
X is where I go immediately. If there's any sort of world event, I immediately go to X.
Right.
I don't trust any mainstream media anymore.
Right.
I just, especially after I was attacked, I was like, I know you lie because you lied about me. So I have personal experience with your lies.
Right.
So you've lost me.
Yeah.
And now I have to go somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's there's some of this investigative journalism that is not real time. There's some reporters that are still good at it, but a lot of them move to Substack as well.
Yes, I think most of them.
Like Schellenberger,
Greenwald,
right.
Matt Taibbi.
Right.
These are just too ethical to work for a corporate entity that's going to lie and push a narrative.
Right.
And that's the business. That's the business model. And it's also like the clickbait business model. I've talked to people that had articles that they wrote, and then an editor came and changed the heading of it. And,
that's the norm. That's like every time it happens.
and it fucking infuriates them. It's like, that's not the article, man. This is not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're distorting things.
You
And you have my name still attached to it. This is fucking crazy.
I watched these entrepreneurs like Zuck and Elon and all these guys come up in this very hostile media environment. And so as I'm building my company, I actually never hired a PR agency. I hired once a PR agency, paid them $30,000. They got me a placement in like a really crappy publication, got like maybe 2 views. I tweeted the same news, I got like hundreds of thousands of views. I'm like, fuck that, like I'm not gonna use you anymore. It's like you wasted my time. And since then, I've been just going direct to my audience and just building an audience online to put out my message. And I thought they if they don't build you up, maybe they can't tear you down. Right. You're in control of the message that gets out of there. And I've learned how people react to communications and it's almost like trial by fire.
Well, there's a deep hunger for authenticity right now.
Yeah.
So if they know it's coming from you, like, okay, this is great.
Yeah.
Like it takes a little weight off of them. Like, oh, this is nice. It's nice to hear it from the guy who actually runs the company.
Yeah, and like I make mistakes, and they happen, and I try to correct them, and I'm not going to be perfect. And I think just the corporate world changed because of this hunger for authenticity. And I think more and more founders and entrepreneurs are finding that that's the way to go. That's you don't really need those more traditional ways of getting the news out. But I'm friends with a lot of reporters that are really good, but they tend to be the reporters that do really deep work. I've met them over time, and I still go direct, but sometimes they write about our company. But they're a minority.
Yeah.
I think the whole industry's economics and incentives are just like the clickbait and all that stuff.
That's what I was going to say. They're not incentivized. It's not. You want a career in journalism. Being authentic is not the way to go.
No, not at all.
Which is so crazy.
Right.
Such a crazy thing to say.
Yeah.
But then I think there's probably a naivete that we all have about past journalism that we think wasn't influenced and was real. I think there's probably always been horseshit in journalism.
Mm-hmm.
All the way back to Watergate. When Tucker Carlson enlightened me in the true history of Watergate, and that Bob Woodward was an intelligence agent, and that was the first assignment he ever got as a reporter.
Oh, wow.
Was Watergate. Like, what are the odds that the biggest story ever you would give to a rookie reporter? You wouldn't.
Yeah.
And that the people that actually involved in all that were all FBI. Like, the whole thing is nuts. It was an intelligence agents.
Yeah, it was the rumor is that Washington Post has always been that. Right?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows now? Because now it's owned by Bezos, and he just recently made this mandate to stick with the actual story and not editorialism.
Yeah.
And to
this is what I was talking about in trend in Silicon Valley of founder owners stepping in and actually becoming managers.
Well, they kind of have to, otherwise it's bad for the business now because of the hunger for authenticity. The more you have bullshit, the more your business crumbles.
Right.
It's actually like negative for your outcome.
Yeah, and I think you can look at it at a societal level, which is again why I'm interested with this idea of like AI making more people entrepreneurs and more independent. Is that macro level, you'll get more authenticity, you'll get just more dynamism.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the rose-colored glasses view.
Well, there's obviously going to be a lot of things that are
a lot of disruption.
There's going to be jobs that are are going to go away, and there's going to be spam and bots and fraud and all of that. There's going to be like problems with like autonomous weapons and all of that. And I think those are all important, and we need to handle them. But also like I think the negative angle of technology and AI gets a lot more views and clicks. And if we want to go viral right now, I'll tell you, these are the 10 jobs that you're going to lose tomorrow. And that's the easiest way to kind of go viral on the internet. But like, trying to think through, what are the actual implications in what is true about human nature that really doesn't change and really is timeless. And I think the people want to create and people want to make things and people have ideas, Again, everyone that I talk to have one idea or another, whether it's for their job or for a business they want to build or somewhere in the middle. Like just yesterday, I was watching a video of an entrepreneur using a platform, Replit. His name is Ahmad George, and he works for this skincare company. And he's an operations manager. And a big part of his job is like managing inventory and doing all of this stuff like in a very manual way and very routine, tedious way. And he always had this idea of like, let's automate a big part of it. It's like, it's no problem, ERP. So they went to their software provider, NetSuite, and told them we need these modification to the ERP system so that it makes our job easier. We think we can automate, hundreds of hours a month or something like that. And they quoted him $150,000. And he had just seen a video about our platform. And he went on Replit and built something in a couple of weeks, costed him $400. And then deployed it in his office. Everyone in the office started using it. They all got more productive. They started saving time and money. He went to the CEO and showed him the impact. Look at how much money we're saving. Look at the fact that we built this piece of software that is cheaper than what the consultants quoted us. And I want to sell the software to the company. And so he sold it for $32,000. To the company, and next year he's going to be getting more maintenance subscription revenue from it. So this idea of people becoming entrepreneurs, it doesn't mean like everyone has to quit their job and build a business. But within your job, everyone has an opportunity to get promoted. Everyone has an opportunity to remove the tedious job. There was a Stanford study asking people what percentage of your job is automatable just recently, and everyone people said about half. Like 50% of what I do is like routine and tedious, and I don't want to do it. And I have ideas on how to make the business better, how to make my job better, and I think we can use AI to do it. And there's hunger in the workforce to use AI to for humans to for people to reclaim their seat as the creative driver. Because the thing that happened with the emergence of computers is that in many ways people became a little more drone-like and NPC-like. They're doing the same thing every day. But I think the real promise of AI and technology has always been automation, so that we have more time either for leisure or for creativity or for ways in which we can advance our lives, change our lives or careers. And yeah, this is what gets me excited. And I think it's I don't think it's predominantly a rose-colored glasses thing, because I'm seeing it every day, and that's what gets me fired up.
It's also you have a biased sample group, right? Because you have a bunch of people that are using your platform and they are achieving positive results. But
they're from every walk of life.
Yes, we have a bunch of things that are happening simultaneously, and I think one of the big fears about automation and AI in general is the abruptness of the change, because it's going to happen. Boom, jobs are going to be gone, and then these tedious jobs, do we really want people to be reduced to these tedious existences of just filing paperwork and putting things on shelves? And
they will tell you they don't want to be doing it.
They don't want to be doing that. But then there's the thing of how do we educate people, especially people that are already set in their ways and they're mature adults? How do you get and inspire these people to okay, look, your job is gone and now you have this opportunity to do something different. Go forth.
I think reskilling is something that have been done in the past with some amount of success. Obviously, if you've never been exposed to technology, did you remember that? I think it was a very cruel thing to say to minors to go learn code.
Yeah, learn to code.
Yeah, I think that's really cruel. But if you're someone whose job is sort of a desk job, you already are on the computer. There's a lot of opportunity for you to reskill and start using AI to automate a big part of your job. And yes, there's going to be job loss, but I think a lot of those people will be able to reskill. And what we're doing with the government of Saudi Arabia, I would love to do in the U.S.
So how is the government of Saudi Arabia using it?
So we're just starting right now.
What's their goal?
Their goal is twofold or three. One is an entire generation of people growing up with these creative tools. Instead of just textbook learning, instead learning by doing, making things. So entire generation understanding how to make things with AI, how to code, and all of that stuff. Second is upgrading sort of government operations. So you could think of it sort of like Doge, but more technological. Can we automate big parts of what we do in HR, finance, and things like that? And I think it's possible to build these specific AI agents that do part of finance job or accounting job. Again, all these routine things that people are doing, you can go and automate that and make government as a whole more efficient. And third is entrepreneurship. Is if you gave that power to more people to be able to kind of build businesses, then not only they're growing up with it, but also there's a culture of entrepreneurship, and there is existing already in Saudi Arabia. Which, I mean, the sad thing about the Middle East, there's so much potential, but there's so much wars and there's so much disaster. But
there's so much money.
There's also so much money, yeah, which is good, and I think it's good for the United States. I think what President Trump did with the deals in the Gulf region is great. It's going to be great for the United States. It's going to be great for the Gulf region, but I think we need more of that. We talked about government. We need more of that enlightened view of education, of change in our government today. This idea that we're going to bring back the old manufacturing jobs. I understand Americans got really screwed with what happened. People got these jobs got sent away by globalism, whatever you want to call it, and a few number of people got massively rich. A lot of people got disenfranchised, and we had the opiate epidemic, and it had just massive damage. It made massive damage on the culture. But is the way to bring back those jobs, or is there a new way of the future? And there's probably a new manufacturing wave that's going to happen with robotics.
Right.
There's the humanoid robots are starting to work. And these, I think, will need a new way of manufacturing it. And so the U.S. can be at the forefront of that, can own that, bring new jobs into existence. And all of these things need software. Like our world is going to be primarily run by AI and robots and all of that. And more people need to be able to make software, even if it is prompting and not really, but a lot more people just need to be able to make it. There's going to be a need for more products and services and all of that stuff. And I think there's enough jobs to go around if we have this mindset of let's actually think about the future of the economy as opposed to let's bring back certain manufacturing jobs, which I don't think Americans would want to do anyways.
Right, they don't want to do the jobs. My problem is there's some people that are doing those jobs right now, and it's their entire identity. They have a good job, they work for a good company, they make a good living, and that might go away, and they're just not psychologically equipped to completely change their life.
What do you think is the solution there? Which I agree, it's a real problem.
Well, desperation, unfortunately, is going to motivate people to make changes, and it's going to also motivate some people to choose drugs. That's my fear. My fear is that you're going to get a lot more people. There's going to be a lot of people that they figure it out and they survive. This is natural selection, unfortunately, like in applied to a digital world. There's going to be people that just aren't psychologically equipped to recalibrate their life. And that's my real fear. My real fear is that there's a bunch of really good people out there that are, valuable parts of a certain business right now that their identity is attached to being employee of the month. They're good people. They show up every day. Everybody loves them and trusts them. They do good work and everybody rewards them for that. And that's part of who they are as a person. They're a hardworking person.
Of course.
And they feel that way. And there's like a lot of real good people out there that are, blue collar, hardworking people. And they take pride in that. And that job's going to go away.
Well, I actually think that more white-collar jobs are going away.
I think so, too. Yeah.
So then blue-collar, which is what was go back 10 years ago, and we thought, okay, self-driving cars, robots in manufacturing, and that turned out to be a lot harder than actually more desk jobs, because we have a lot more data. For one, we have a lot more data on people sitting in front of a computer and doing Excel and writing things on the internet, and so we're able to train these what we call large language models. And those are really good at using a computer like a human uses a computer.
Right.
And so I think the jobs to be worried about, especially in the next months to a year, a little more, is the routine computer jobs where it's formulaic. You have a task, like quality assurance jobs, right? Software quality assurance. It's like you have to constantly test the same feature of some large software company, Microsoft or whatever. You're sitting there, and you're performing the same thing again and again and again every day. And if there's a bug, you can report it back to the software engineers. And that is, I think, really in the bullseye of what AI is going to be able to do over the next months.
And do it much more efficiently.
Much more efficiently, much faster. Yeah.
Yeah, those people have to be really worried. Drivers, professional drivers, like people who drive trucks and things along those lines, that's going away.
That's definitely going away.
Yeah. And that's an enormous part of our society. It's millions of jobs.
Right.
I was watching a video on this coal mining factory in China that's completely automated, and it was wild to watch. Every step of the way is automated, including recharging the trucks. Like the trucks know they're all electrical. Everything's run on electricity. They recharge themselves. They're pulling the coal out of the ground. They're stacking it, inventory, everything. Storage, it's all automated, and it runs 24/7. I'm like, this is wild.
It's crazy. I remember watching the video of BYD making an electric vehicle. It was really satisfying to watch. It's all the entire assembly line is automated. The way they put the paint and the way they do the entire thing is.
By the way, China's electric vehicles are so good. They're so advanced. Yeah, There's this guy that I follow on Instagram. God, I can't remember his name. I really wish I could right now. But he reviews a lot of electric vehicles, I've never even heard of these companies, and they're incredible. They're so advanced.
Yeah.
And their suspension systems are so superior to the suspension systems of even German luxury cars. They did a demonstration where they drove one of these Chinese electric vehicles over an obstacle course. And then they had a BMW and a Mercedes go over, and the BMW's on. And the Chinese one is fucking flat planing the entire way.
Right.
Every bump in the road is being completely absorbed by the suspension.
Right, there's all AI.
It's so much better than what we have.
Right.
So much. What is this? That's him.
Yep.
That's him. Forrest Jones. Shout out to Forrest. He's great. He does these really fast-paced videos, but he does a lot of cars that are available here in America as well, but he does a shit ton of them that aren't. Which one is this one here?
Neo.
Yeah, listen to him because he's pretty good at this shit.
710 horsepower. I get cameras here, LiDAR there for self-driving, and this has 2 Neo-made chips. And for reference, one of those chips is as powerful as 4 NVIDIA chips, and this has 2. Neo also has battery swap stations, so if you're in a rush, you can hit one up, it'll lift your car, swap out your battery, put in a fully charged one in between 3 and 5 minutes. But here's where the S-Class should be worried. Not only does it have rear steer and steer-by-wire, so it's extremely easy to maneuver, it may have one of the most advanced hydraulic systems I've ever seen. It can pretty much counteract any bump.
Wow.
After you go over something 4 times, it'll memorize it, so that the 5th time, it's like that bump never existed. Inside, you get pillows in your headrest, heated, ventilated, massaging leather seats, a passenger screen built into my dash, a main screen that works super fast. I get a driving display, a head-up display, and my steering works super fast.
Pretty dope.
Yeah, what's interesting what he said is that the car is learning the terrain. If it went over it once, it'll learn it. And I think this is the next sort of big thing with AI, whether it's robotics cars or even ChatGPT now. It has memory. It learns about you and starts to sort of similar to how social media feeds, but I think in a lot of ways more negative, learn about you. I think these systems will start to have more online learning instead of just training them in these large data centers and these large data, and then giving you this thing that doesn't know anything about it, is totally stateless. As you use these devices, they will like learn your pattern, your behavior, and all of that.
Yeah. Why is China so much better at making these cars than us? Because they're really advanced.
Yeah. I think, a lot of people think that, I'm not an expert in China, but a lot of people think that the thing that makes China better at manufacturing is the sort of quote unquote like more like treating workers like slaves. This so slave work, whatever. Which I'm sure some of that happens. But Tim Cook recently said, maybe not so recent, but he thinks part of the reason why they manufacture in China is there's expertise there that developed over time.
Yeah, that's why they want to use the Chinese manufacturing for the iPhone 17.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that are good about more technocratic systems, Singapore, obviously China's the biggest one, is that the sort of leadership, it comes at a cost of freedom and other things, but the leadership can have a 50-year view of where things are headed, and they can say, well, yes, we're now making the plastic crap. We don't want to keep making plastic crap. We're going to build the capabilities and the automation and manufacturing expertise to be able to leapfrog the West in making these certain things. Whereas it's been historically hard. Again, for good reasons. I think that there's more freedom preserving when you don't have that much power in government. I mean, but I feel like America, we're like the worst of both worlds, where increasingly the government is making more and more decisions and choices in like the nanny state. But at the same time, we don't have this enlightened 10-year roadmap for where we want to be.
Yeah, because we never think that way because we deal in terms.
Yeah, 4-year
terms. That's the problem.
Also, public companies, 4-year terms, public companies, quarters.
Right.
Quarters. And again, this is back to this managerial idea run by managers that, part of the reason why, Zuck has complete control. He can, how much did he spend on VR? Like, I don't know, $30-40 billion, maybe more per year, maybe. He spent a ton of money, like a GDP worth, like small state GDP worth of money on VR, and the public market was totally doubtful of that. And the reason he could do that is because he has, what are they called, super voting shares. And so he has complete control of the company, and he can't be unseated by activist investors, sort of what's been done to...
Wasn't there like a recent trial where they were trying to impeach him for saying that? They're trying to remove him from that.
They can't unless
I know, but there was a trial. I think there's a trial that's going on. It was going on like very recently.
Oh, I think you're thinking about the antitrust.
No, there's something about him saying that he can't be fired.
But it's true.
It is true.
It's legal.
I know it is nonsense. The trial, I believe the trial is nonsense. But like a friend of mine was actually representing him in this.
Maybe in Europe or something.
I don't think so. I think it's in America. Google Mark Zuckerberg, Josh Dubin trial. See if you can find anything on that.
But yeah, Mark can think on the order of decades. Like when I was there at Facebook, he was talking about the idea that like there's going to be a fundamental shift. He's like, if you look back 100 years, computers every 20 years or whatever change the user interface modality. You go from terminals and mainframes to desktop computers to mobile computing. And he was like, okay, what's next? And first guess was like VR. And now I think their best guess is like AR plus AI. We'll make like the AR glasses, their new Meta Ray-Ban glasses plus AI, and they can make massive investment. They just made crazy investment. This company, Scale AI. Scale AI is data provider for OpenAI and Google, and what they do is, OpenAI will say, I want the best law and legal data to train the best legal machine learning model, and they'll go to places where there's the labor costs are low, but maybe still well educated. There are places in Africa and Asia that are like that, and they'll sit them down and say, okay, you're going to get these tasks, these legal programming, whatever tasks, and you're going to do them, and you're going to write your thoughts as you're doing them. I'm simplifying it, but basically they collect all this data. Basically, it's labeled labor. They take it, they put it in the models, and they train the models. And OpenAI spends billions of dollars on that. Anthropic, all these companies. And so this company was the major data provider, and Meta just acquired them. There's this new trend of acquisitions. I assume because they want to get around regulations, but they bought 49% of the company, and then they hired all the leadership. So the Scale AI, like Meta, hired the leadership there, and bought out the investors. They put $15 billion into the company. The weird thing about it is Google and OpenAI are like, we're not going to use this shit anymore. So the company value went down because people, these companies don't want to use it, and now they're going to other companies. And so in effect, Zuck bought talent for $15 billion.
Wow.
Can you imagine that talent for $15 billion?
That is insane.
Google recently bought a company for one known researcher who's one of the inventors of the large language model technology, Noam Shazir, for $3 billion. Bought his company, and I think they're not really... They do these weird deals where they buy out the investors and they let the company run as a shell of itself, and then they acquire the talent.
Wow.
Microsoft did the same thing.
That's crazy. So it's just these unique individuals that are very valuable there.
Very, very valuable, worth billions of dollars.
Sam Altman says Meta tried and failed to poach OpenAI's talent with $100 million offers.
So this $100 million is sign-on bonus. This is not even like salary.
Or equity. It's just
bonus.
Just a bonus. $100 million
Just come here.
Failed and failed.
I don't know. I don't know what failed. I mean, I'm sure he's going to say that. But
worded in a weird way. So our best talent hasn't taken it. So you could have.
of course, he's going to say that.
Well, of course, the people that did take it, well, they weren't our best.
They were our
talent.
best, yeah.
We don't even like those guys.
And by the way,
anymore.
OpenAI does it to companies like ours. Like it's just a question of scale. Like Zuck can give them $100 million and steal the best talents, and like companies like OpenAI, which I love, but they go to like small startups and give them $10 million to grab their talents. But but you know, it's very, very competitive right now, and there are like I don't know if these individuals are actually worth these billions of dollars, but the talent war is so crazy because everyone feels like there's a race towards getting to superintelligence, and the first company to get to superintelligence is going to reap massive amounts of rewards.
How far away do you think we are from achieving that?
Well, you know, like I said, like my philosophy tends to be different than I think the mainstream in Silicon Valley. I think that AI is going to be extremely good at doing labor, extremely good at like, ChatGPT and being like a personal assistant, extremely good at like Replit being an automated programmer. But the definition of superintelligence is that it is better than every other human collectively at any task. And I am not sure there's evidence that we're headed there. Again, I think that one important aspect of superintelligence or AGI is that you drop this entity into an environment where it has no idea about that environment. It's never seen it before, and it's able to efficiently learn to achieve goals within that environment. Right now, there's a bunch of studies showing like, GPT-4 or any of the latest models, if you give them an exam or quiz that is even slightly different than their training data, they tank. They do really badly on it. I think the way that AI will continue to get better is via data. Now, at some point, and maybe this is the point of takeoff, is that they can train themselves. And the way we know how AI could train itself through a method called self-play. So the way self-play works is, take, for example, AlphaGo. AlphaGo is, I'm sure you remember Lee Sedol, game between DeepMind, AlphaGo, and Lee Sedol, and it won in the game of Go. The way AlphaGo is trained is that part of it is a neural network that's trained on existing data, but the way it achieves superhuman performance in that one domain is by playing itself, like millions, billions, perhaps trillions of times. So it starts by like generating random moves, and then it learns what's the best moves, and it's like basically a multi-agent system where it learns, I did this move wrong, and I need to kind of re-examine it, and it trains itself really, really quickly by doing the self-play. It'll play fast games with itself. But we know how to make this in game environments because game environments are closed environments. But we don't know how to make it. We don't know how to do self-play, for example, on literature, because you need objective truth. In literature, there's no objective truth. Taste is different.
Right.
Conjecture, philosophy. There's a lot of things, and again, I go back to why there's still a primitive humans. Is there are a lot of things that are intangible, and we don't know how to like generate objective truth in order to train machines in the self-play fashion. But like programming has objective truth. Coding has objective truth. The machine you can construct an environment that has a computer and has a problem. There's a ton of problems, and even an AI can generate sample problems. And then there's like a test to validate whether the program works or not. And then you can generate all these programs, test them, and if they succeed, that's a reward that trains your system to get better at that. If it doesn't succeed, that's also feedback. And they run them all the time, and it gets better at programs. So I'm confident programming is going to get a lot better. I'm confident that math is going to get a lot better. But from there, it is hard to imagine how all these other more subjective, softer sort of sciences of the AI will get better through self-play. I think the AI will only be able to get better through data from human labor.
If AI analyzes all the past creativity, all the different works of literature, all the different music, all the different things that humans have created completely without AI, do you think it could understand the mechanisms involved in creativity and make a reasonable facsimile?
I think it will be able to imitate very well how humans come up with new ideas in a way that it remixes all the existing ideas and from its training data. But by the way, again, this is super powerful. This is not like a dig at AI. The ability to remix all the available data into potentially new ideas or newish ideas because they're remixes, they're derivative, is still very, very powerful. But the best marketers, think of one of my favorite marketing videos is Think Different from Apple. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. Like, I don't think that like really machines are at a point where I try to talk to ChatGPT a lot about marketing or naming. It's so bad at that. It's like midwit bad at that. And I
for now.
But that's the thing. It's like I just don't see. And look, I'm not an AI researcher, and maybe at working they have ideas there. But in the current landscape of the technology that we have today, it's hard to imagine how these AIs are going to get better at, say, literature or the softer things that we as humans find really compelling.
What's interesting is the thing that's the most at threat is these sort of middle of the road Hollywood movies that are essentially doing exactly what you said about AI. They're sort of like they're sort of remixing old themes and tropes and figuring out a way to repackage it.
But I think actually those tools in the hands of humans, they'll be able to create new interesting movies and things like that.
Right, in the hands of humans. So with additional human creativity applied.
Right. So the man-machine symbiosis.
Right.
This was the term that's used by J.C. Licklider, like the grandfather of the internet from ARPA. A lot of those guys kind of imagine a lot of what's going to happen, a lot of the future, and this idea of like human plus machine will be able to create amazing things. So what people are making with VO is not because the machine is really good at painting it,
right,
at like generating it and making it.
But it can't make it without the prompts.
Like the really funny without the prompt, like the Bigfoot finds Tren. And they inject themselves with Tren, they start working out. It's like, I'm telling you, my TikTok feed is really wild right now. It's like this like real weird distorted human mind to come up with this. Well, lightweight, baby.
Have you seen the ones where it's Trump and Elon and Putin and they're all in a band?
Right.
They're playing Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Right. Yeah, I've seen
Fortunate Son. It's crazy.
And another one is the LA riots and how like they're all the world leaders are sort of gangsters in the riots. That one is hilarious.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is fun, and it's interesting how quickly it can be made too. Something that would have taken a long time through these video editors, where they were using computer-generated imagery for a long time, but it's very painstaking and very, very expensive. And now it's really cheap.
On the way here, I was like, I want to make an app to sort of impress you with our technology. I was like, what would Joe like? And then I came up with this idea of like a squat form analyzer. And so in the car over way here, sorry, in the lobby, but I made this app to...
You made it on the way over here?
On the way, on my phone. And this is the like really exciting thing about what we built with being able to like program on your phone is being able to like have that inspiration that can come anytime and just like immediately pull out your phone and start building it. So here I'll show you. So basically you just start recording and then do a few squats. I don't know.
Okay. It's going to analyze it just from there?
Yeah. But I mean, the camera angle is not that great, but let's try.
Right, okay. And it's going to be able to tell you whether or not you're doing it well?
Yeah. Those are not my best squats. Just so you know, Joe Rogan.
I'm not judging you.
I used to squat, 350 pounds. So now it's integrating Google Gemini model to kind of run through the video, analyze it, and it'll come up with a score and then suggestions. And so, again, this is like a random idea. I was like, okay, what would be interesting to do?
That's a really interesting thing that people could use at the gym, though. Like not just for squats, but maybe for chin-ups and all kinds of stuff. Like, maybe I'm looking at your form, and this is what you need to do to get a little lower. Make your elbows parallel to your body, whatever.
I built so many personal apps. Like I built apps for analyzing my health, and I talked about some of my health problems that are now a lot better. Look, bad form.
Oh, bad form. Just like straight away, critical.
So mean. Again, knees position, unable to probably assess from the video angle. So yeah, it's a little.
Okay, so it's saying it's not the best angle.
But it's saying my depth is bad, which was actually bad. So and I was leaning forward, but it's pretty good. I tried it a few times. It's really good at that. And so I build a lot of apps for like just my personal life.
That would be that would be great for a person who doesn't want a trainer.
Right.
I don't want to deal with some person. Let me just work out on my own. But am I doing this right? Set your phone up, have it correct you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the office, some guys are building. We have this partnership with Whoop. I don't know if you've tried it.
Whoop.
And they're building an app so we can start competing on workouts based on Whoop data.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our company's like very weird for Silicon Valley. Like we have a jiu-jitsu mat, and we have.
Oh really?
Yeah, we have.
Do you guys bring in trainers?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fucking great. Yeah. That's awesome. Don't get hurt.
It's I only recently got into it, but the hardest thing about it is to be calm, because your impulse is to overpower.
Yes. Yeah.
Is to
the Gracies have a great saying: keep it playful. Yeah, and that's how you really learn the best. It's very hard, and listen, I'm a giant hypocrite because most of my jiu-jitsu career, I was a meathead. And I that's one of the reasons why I started really lifting weights a lot. Is like I realized like strength is very valuable, and it is valuable. But technique is the most valuable, and the best way to acquire technique is to pretend that you don't have any strength.
The best way to acquire technique is to pretend to.
Yeah, don't force things. Just find the best path, and that requires a lot of data. So you have to understand the positions. So you have to really analyze them. The best jiu-jitsu guys are really smart.
Yeah.
Like Mikey Musumeci, Gordon Ryan, Craig Jones. Those are very intelligent people, and that's why they're so good at jiu-jitsu. And then you also have to apply that intelligence to recognize that discipline is a massive factor. Like Mikey Musumeci trains every day, 12 hours a day.
12 hours a day?
12 hours a day. Oh yeah.
Is that humanly possible?
It's possible. Yeah, because he's not training full blast. It's not like you can't squat 12 hours a day, 350 pounds. Your body will break down. But you can go over positions over and over and over and over again until they're in muscle memory. But you're not doing them at full strength, right? So like if you're rolling, right? So say if you're doing drills, you would set up like a guard pass. When you're doing a guard pass, you would tell the person lightly resist, and I'm going to put light pressure on you, and you go over that position. Knee shield, pass, hip into it. Here's the counter, on the counter, darce, go for the darce. The person defends the darce, roll, take the back. And just do that over and over and over again.
Until it's muscle memory.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like completely ingrained in your body.
Instead of chess players, it's like, let's focus on the end game.
Yeah.
Just keep repeating the end game.
Yes,
I read
yes,
the
yes.
Josh Waitzkin
Yes.
book. What was it called? I forgot. His book about, like, I think chess and jiu-jitsu, was it? And
Yeah,
martial
Josh was
arts?
just in here a few months ago. He's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
But it's so interesting to see a super intelligent person apply that intelligence to jiu-jitsu.
One of interesting things when I started getting into, I've always been into different kinds of sports, and then periods of extreme programming and obesity. But then, but then I tried to get back into it. I was a swimmer early on, but one thing that I found, especially in the lifting community, is how intelligent everyone are. They're actually almost like. They're so focused. They're autistically focused on like form and program, and they spend so much time designing these spreadsheets for your program. And
Yeah. Well, people have this like really. We have this view of things physical, that physical things are not intelligent things. But you need intelligence in order to manage emotions. Emotions are a critical aspect of anything physical. Any really good athlete, you need a few factors. You need discipline, hard work, genetics, but you need intelligence. It might not be the same intelligence. People also, they confuse intelligence with your ability to express yourself, your vocabulary, your history of reading.
It's like a bias
data.
almost.
Yes,
that's
it's a huge bias.
That's like the sort of modern desk job by the laptop class bias.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they assume that anything that you're doing physically, you're now no longer using your mind.
Yeah.
But it's not true. In order to be disciplined, you have to understand how to manage your mind. Managing your mind is an intelligence, and the ability to override those emotions, to conquer that inner bitch that comes to you every time I lift that fucking lid off of that cold plunge.
Right.
That takes intelligence. You have to understand that this temporary discomfort is worth it in the long run because I'm going to have an incredible result after this is over. I'm going to feel so much better.
Right. Yeah, I haven't thought about intelligence in order to manage your emotions, but that's totally true because you're constantly doing the self-talk.
Yes.
You're trying to like trick yourself.
There's a lot of people that are very intelligent that don't have control over their emotions.
Yeah.
But they're intelligent in some ways. It's just they've missed this one aspect of intelligence, which is the management of the functions of the mind itself.
Right.
And they don't think that that's critical. But it is critical. It's critical to every aspect of your life, and it'll actually improve all those other intellectual pursuits.
You have to tie it back to the like AI discussion. I think a lot of the sort of programmer researcher type is like they know that one form of intelligence and they over-rotate on that, and that's why I was like, oh, we're so close to like perfecting intelligence.
Right.
It's because that's what you know. But there's a lot of other forms of intelligence.
There's a lot of forms of intelligence, and unfortunately, we're very narrow in our perceptions of these things, and very biased. And we think that our intelligence is the only intelligence,
Right.
And that this one thing that we concentrate on, this is the only thing that's important.
Right. Have you read or done any CBT, cognitive behavior therapy?
No.
Basically, CBT is like a way to get over depression and anxiety based on self-talk and cues. I had to use it, again, I had like sleep issues. I had to use CBTI, cognitive behavior therapy, for insomnia. And the idea behind it is to build up what's called sleep pressure. So you don't, first of all, insomnia is performance anxiety. Once you have insomnia, you start having anxiety, like by the time bedtime comes, you're like, oh my God, I'm just gonna,
Interesting.
I'm just gonna, turn over in bed and I'm just gonna be in bed. And then you start associating your bedroom with the suffering of insomnia, because you're like sitting there and like, your own mind and really suffering. It's really horrific. And first of all, you treat your bedroom as a sanctuary. You're only there when you want to sleep. So that's like one thing you program yourself to do. And the other thing is you don't nap. The entire day, you don't nap at all, no matter what happens. Like, even if you're real sleepy, like get up and take a walk or whatever. And then you build up what's called sleep pressure. Like now you have like a lot of sleepiness. And so you go to bed, you try to fall asleep. If you don't fall asleep within 15, 20 minutes, you get up, you go out, you do something else. And then when you feel really tired again, you go back to bed.
Oh God.
And then finally, once you fall asleep, if you wake up in the middle of the night, which is another sort of form of insomnia, instead of staying in bed, you get up, you go somewhere else, you go read or do whatever. And like slowly you program yourself to see your bed and, the bed is where I sleep. It's only where I sleep. I don't do anything else there. And you can get over insomnia that way instead of using pills and all the other stuff.
Oh, the pills are the worst. God, people that need those fucking things to sleep, I feel for them. I can sleep like that.
That's amazing.
I can sleep on the
That's a
ground.
blessing. That's a blessing.
It's a huge blessing. My wife hates it. It drives her nuts because sometimes she has insomnia. I could sleep on rocks. I could just go lay down on a dirt road and fall asleep.
Wow.
But I'm always going hard.
Yeah.
When you're always going hard,
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't take naps.
Right.
And I work out basically every day, and so I'm always tired. I'm always ready to go to sleep.
So do you fight it, or do you just it's not in you to like take a nap?
I don't need a nap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never need naps.
Yeah. How many hours do you sleep?
I try to get 8.
Do you get 8?
No, last night I didn't get 8, but I got 7. 6.5. Probably I got 6.5 last night.
Yeah.
But that was because I got home and I started watching TV because I was a little freaked out about the war. And so when I'm freaked out about the war, I like to fill my mind with nonsense.
Oh, what kind of nonsense?
Well, I just watch things that have nothing to do with the war. Like I play pool. I'm pretty competitive. I'm pretty good. And so I like watching professional pool matches. And there's a lot of them on YouTube. So I just watch pool. And I just watch, patterns, how guys get out, stroke, how they use their stroke, like how different guys have different approaches to the game.
It's crazy. The type A people, it's like for you, although pool is an escape, it suddenly becomes an obsession. And you're like, I need to be the best at it.
I'm very obsessed.
So I told you I quit video games, but then last year I was very stressed. Like the company was doing really poorly before we sort of invented this agent technology, and then also the Gaza genocide. I was like watching these videos every night of just like really affecting me.
I can't watch that stuff at night. At night is when I get my anxiety.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't generally have anxiety, but not like a lot of people do. I mean, when I say anxiety, I really feel for people that genuinely suffer from actual anxiety. My anxiety is all sort of self-imposed, and when I get online at night and I think about the world, my family's asleep, which is generally when I write. As long as I'm writing, I'm okay.
Comedy?
Yeah. I write like sort of an essay form, then I extract the comedy from it. But when I get online and I just pay attention to the world, that's when I really freak out because it's all out of your control and it's just murderous psychopaths that are running the world. And it just at any moment, you could be, in a place where they decide to attack. And then you're a pawn in this fucking insane game that these people are playing in the world.
That's why I felt really frustrated with my family being there. I was like, they have no say in it.
Right.
The war started, rockets are flying. It's like, but anyways, I started playing a video game. It's called Hades. Hades 2. It's like an RPG video game, and I was like, I'm trying to disconnect. And then I started speedrunning that game. Do you know what speedrunning is?
No.
It's like you're trying to finish the game as fast as possible, as fast as humanly possible. And I got down to like 6 minutes, and I was number 50 in the world.
Whoa! But legitimately.
Oh yeah. My score is online.
To play for it. That was crazy.
Yeah,
Why is he doing that? That was crazy.
It's myth building.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. But yeah, it is this thing about type A people. Like you're even in the your escapism becomes competitive and stressful.
Well, sort of, but it's also. I feel like it's a discipline. I feel like pool is a discipline, just like archery. I'm also obsessed with archery. Archery is a discipline, and I feel like the more divergent disciplines that you have in your life, the more you understand what it is about these things that makes you excel and get better at them. And the more when I get better at those things, I get better at life. I apply it to everything.
Yeah, there's another thing that AI now struggles with, which is called transfer learning. You're learning something from domain, like learning something from math on how to like do reasoning in math and being able to do reasoning in politics. We just don't have evidence of that yet. And I feel the same way. Everything, like even powerlifting, when I got really into it, which is like the most unhealthy sport you can do.
You break your joints down.
Break your joints. You look like shit because the more you eat, you can lift more.
Right.
You get fat.
They're all fat.
They're all
a lot of them. Unless they're competing at a weight class. So
right.
They have to be lean.
Yeah. And what is that? Repertoire? Have you ever had him on? The jug of milk. Go-Mad. You know Go-Mad?
No.
Gallon of milk a day. Do you know that,
what?
Jamie? Do you know it? Disgusting. Yeah. So basically,
a gallon of milk a day.
Yeah. So Mark Repertoire, he wrote this book called Starting Strength, and it became like the main way most guys, at least my age, like getting into powerlifting. It was about technique. It was about like his whole thing is like, look, everyone comes into lifting, they think it's bodybuilding. Powerlifting is nothing like that. And he also looks like shit and he's fat, but his technique is amazing. And so the way he gets young guys to like get really good and really strong, he puts them on a gallon of milk a day.
Does that really have a positive effect?
Yeah, I mean, he has a YouTube channel. Like, he has a lot of guys that are really, really strong, and he's been a coach for a lot of people.
What is it about a gallon of milk a day? Is it just the protein intake? What is it?
The calories.
Paragraph on it. I mean, it's
Okay, here it is. Drinking a gallon of milk a day, go mad, is undeniably the most effective nutritional strategy for adding slabs of mass to young, underweight males. Milk is relatively cheap, painless to prepare, and the macronutrient profile is very balanced, and calories are always easier to drink than eat. Unfortunately, those interested in muscular hypertrophy, who are not young, underweight, and male, populations where GOMAD is not recommended, will need to put more effort into the battle to avoid excess fat accumulation. Body composition can be manipulated progressively, much like barbell training, to achieve the best results. For example, the starting strength novice linear progression holds exercise selection frequency and volume variables constant. Okay. Every 48 to 72 hours, the load stressor is incrementally increased to elicit adaptation in strength. If the load increase is too significant or insignificant, the desired adaptation won't take place. Yeah, this is the intelligence, right? This is the intelligence involved in lifting that people who are on the outside of it would dismiss.
It's science. Yeah. I'm so honored to be the guy that introduces Joe Rogan to starting strength.
Go mad.
Yeah, Go mad. Repertoire is so funny. You should like watch some of his videos. He has like this very thick Texan accent, and he just like his audience shits on him all the time. They call him fat and ugly and whatever, and he abuses his audience too. So
Let me see this guy. Let me see this guy.
Put his picture up.
That's the dude?
That's old photo. He's not much fatter. Yeah.
So he's just a nerd.
Yeah, he's a huge nerd, but he used to lift a lot of weight.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's what he used to look like. That one photo with him with the hairy chest, the black. Oh, okay.
or maybe here.
Wow, damn.
Is that him?
Is that him?
I don't think so.
Really? It does look like him. Yeah, that's him. He
Wow.
used to be jacked.
Okay, that's good.
Oh, so he was a bodybuilder at one point in time.
But then he got on that Go match shit.
Now he's a power lifter. Simply no other exercise, no machine prevent the level of muscular stimulation and growth than the correctly performed full squat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's deadlifting in that image. That's weird.
So he also makes you squat on every day of lifting.
Oh.
So squat every time you lift.
Really?
Yeah. Well, his idea is like squat is a full body exercise. Like you can just go to the gym. And when I used to be busy and I just want to maintain like be healthy, I'll just squat every
Just get 15, 20 minutes.
15,
of
20 minutes squat and just get out of the gym.
Yeah.
But
Well, I do something with legs every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
But squat actually, it does feel like there's an upper body component
Sure.
to it as well.
Well, it's also your body recognizes like, oh, this asshole wants to lift like really heavy things.
Right.
We got to get big.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's the best way to get big.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your body just realizes like,
Yeah.
okay, we have to adapt. This shithead wants to lift giant things every day. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And the other one, I'm sure you know him. I think you introduced me to him through your podcast, Louis Simmons.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Those guys are crazy. You watch the Netflix documentary?
I didn't watch the Netflix doc, but we did actually interview him. He's like one of the few people that I traveled to go meet.
Right.
We went to Westside
I
Barbell.
saw that.
It was
Yeah,
great. We have
yeah.
some of his equipment out here.
Oh,
He's
that
gone
reverse
now.
hyper?
Yeah, we have the reverse hyper is so good for people that have back problems. Everyone that has a back issue, let me show you something. And I bring them out to the reverse hyper machine, and I'm like, this thing will actively strengthen and decompress your spine.
Right. It's so good.
It's so good for people that have like lower back issues where the doctor just wants to cut them. I'm like, hold on, don't do that right away.
I had back pain since my late teens, and the doctors want to they did a MRI and they found that there's a bit of a bulge and they want to do an operations on it.
Yeah, they want to do a discectomy.
Someone wanted to put me in antidepressants. Apparently, you can manage pain with antidepressants. Have you heard of that? Yeah, apparently it's a thing. And through listening to your podcast and others, I was like, I'm just gonna get strong. So I got strong squats and things like that, and the pain got a lot better. Didn't go in entirely. But the thing that like really got me over the hump, and this one's crazy. Are you familiar with the mind body prescription?
No.
John Sarno?
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah,
I heard about him on Howard Stern. He was talking about how a lot of back pain is psychosomatic.
Psychosomatic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't- So his idea, and again, this is like
He doesn't understand jujitsu because a lot of back pain is real as fuck.
Right. I mean, I don't think
Settle down.
I think for me it was a combination of both. Like there's something physically happening, but like his idea is that your mind is creating the pain to distract you from emotional psychological pain. And
I think that's the case in some people.
yeah, and then doctors will go do an image, and often they'll find something, and he thinks that like lumbar imperfections are almost in everyone.
Yes, I think that's true.
And then the doctors latch onto that, and your mind latches onto that, and you start reinforcing, telling yourself that I have this thing, and the pain gets worse. There's also another thing called the salience network. Have you heard of this?
No.
If you can bring up the Wikipedia page for salience network, because I don't want to get it wrong, but the salience network is a network in the brain that neuroscientists found. My doctor, Taddy Akiki, told me about this. The salience network, it gets reinforced whenever you obsess over your pains or your health issues.
That makes sense.
So it's responsible for perception, and the more you reinforce, it's like a muscle. The more you reinforce it, it's sort of like AI, reinforcement learning. The more you reinforce it, it becomes more of an issue.
Including various functions, including social behavior, self-awareness, and integrating sensory, emotional, and cognitive information. Well, I bet social media is really bad for that.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so a lot of the fatigue and things like that. At some point, I'm like, fuck it. I did a lot of other things, but at some point, I'm like, fuck it. I don't care about it. I don't have it. I'm just gonna be good.
Just not concentrate on that.
Yeah, because I was reading about it all the time. I was like really worried, and
I had Abigail Schreier, and
I
she
got
was
better.
talking about that in regards to cognitive therapy, that there's a lot of people that like obsess on their problems so much that their problems actually become bigger.
yes, and this is it. This is the neuroscience behind it, the salience network.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
But there's legit back problems. Of
course.
Legit back. That's why the John Sarno thing, I was like, okay, not for me. I understand how some people could develop that issue.
but his insight was look, I ran a clinic in New York City for a long time, and these chronic illnesses come in waves. There's a ulcers wave in the like 90s.
Oh,
There's-
it became a thing that people were talking about a lot.
Yes.
Wow.
And then there's like a neck pain, and then there's an RSI. The most recent one was RSI.
What is RSI?
Repetitive strain injury. And again, all these things have rational explanations. For me, I was in the computer all the time, and I was like, oh, my arm hurts, and yeah, maybe there was some aspect of it. I was programming a lot, but also after I read John Sarno and I realized that some of it might be also psychological. That it's stress. It's I don't know what's maybe I have some childhood issues, but like you just realize that a lot of it, and maybe the other way is true as well. When you just like minimize it, it just becomes less of an issue in your mind. But the fact that it is like fashion should tell you that there's something psychosomatic about it.
Right. The fact that it does come in waves like that, for
Yeah.
sure. And then once it's in the zeitgeist,
Right.
ulcers or whatever it is. Yeah.
Right. I remember when we were kids, like everyone had ulcers, and I was like, oh, it's from coffee in the morning. And like there's all these. I don't know anyone that has ulcers now.
Right. I don't either. That's true. That's
Right?
That's crazy.
That's wild.
It is wild, the mind, like the way it can benefit you or the way it can hold you prisoner.
Yeah. And again, this is maybe why I have like a little like different view about AI and humans and all of that from Silicon Valley. Like this is a weird thing, but every time I set my mind to like meet someone, I meet them, including you.
Oh, wow. That's weird.
Like, yeah, I want to meet this person. Something happens some chain of events. But obviously, you also see
But
it
it's
in some
obviously
way.
you're doing something you're not just thinking it.
Right.
You're also doing things.
Right.
Which is my problem with like The Secret and like the power of manifesting things.
I don't go that far, but I don't know. Like there's something to it. There's something.
There's something there.
There's
Yeah,
something,
I agree.
yeah.
There's something to it.
Yeah.
I think the mind and our connection to reality is not as simple as we've been told.
Not at all. I think there's something there. And again, when you start looking at psychedelics and stuff like that, there's something there. And I remember listening to one of it. I love JRE circa early 2010s. There was a remote viewing. You were talking about a remote viewing episode. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And obviously very skeptical of it. The idea that you can meditate and like see somewhere else or see it from above.
Yeah.
I read a book about Da Vinci. It's called Da Vinci's Brain, I think. And Da Vinci is like fascinating. Who's this fucking guy? He does everything. And he literally is like across all these domains. And he barely sleeps. Like he has this polyphasic sleep thing, which I tried once. It's torture. Basically, every 4 hours you sleep for 15 minutes. When I was in university, I was very good at computer science, but I hated going to school. And in Jordan, if you don't go to school, they ban you from the exam.
Oh wow!
I was getting A's, but I just didn't want to. Like I didn't want to sit in class. And actually, this is when I started thinking about programming on my phone. I was like, maybe I can code my phone in class. But I felt there was like injustice. Like I just ADHD, whatever you want to call it. Like I just can't sit in class. Like just give me a break. And so I felt justified to rebel or fix the situation somehow. So I decided to like hack into the university and change my grades so I can graduate, because everyone was graduating. I was like 5 years in. It took me 6 years to get through a 4-year program just because I can't sit in class and have some dyslexia and things like that. But so I decided to do that. And I'm like, okay, I'm like hacking takes a lot of time because like you're coding, you're scripting, you're running scripts against servers, and you're waiting. And I'm like, I'm just gonna to optimize my time, I'm just going to do this Da Vinci thing where like 4 hours. By the way, there's a Seinfeld episode where what's his name, the crazy guy in Seinfeld?
Kramer.
Kramer does polyphasic sleeping. Maybe I learned it from there. I'm not sure. But
how do you wake up?
You set an alarm.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's torture.
That sounds so crazy.
So apparently Da Vinci used to do that. But anyways, I was able to hack into the university by like working for weeks using polyphasic sleep, and was able to change my grades. Initially, I didn't want to do it myself, but I had a neighbor who went together to school, and I was like, let's change this grade and see if it actually succeeds. And actually succeeded in his case, and it was my lab rat. But in my case, I got caught. And the reason I got caught is there is, in the database, there's your grade out of 100, 0 to 100. When you get banned because of attendance, your grade is de facto 35. So I thought I would just change that, and that's the thing that will get me to pass. Well, it turns out there's another field in the database about whether you're banned or not. This is bad. This is bad coding. This is bad programming because this database is not normalized. There's a state in 2 different fields. So I'll put the blame on them for not designing the right database.
That's hilarious. You blame them for your hacking being successful. So what was the punishment?
So the entire university system went down because there's this anomaly. I passed, but at the same time I was banned, and so I got a call from the head of the registration system, and it was like 7 p.m. whatever, it was a landline, and I picked up the call. He's like, hey, listen, we have this issue we're dealing with, like the entire thing is down, and it just shows your record, there's a problem with it. Do you know anything about it? And at the time I'm like, all right, there's like a fork in the road. I either like come clean or just like this is a lie that will like live for me forever. And I'm like, I was just gonna say, I was like, yeah, I did it. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, okay, I'll come explain it to you. So the next day I go there, and it's all the university deans, and it's like one of the best computer science universities in the region, the Princess Maya University for technology, and they're all nerds. So the discussion became technical on like how I hacked into the university, and I went to whiteboard and explaining what I did, and whatever, and it just felt like a brainstorming session. I'm like, all right, I'll see you guys later. It's like, wait, we need to figure out what to do with you. Like, this is serious. And I'm like, oh crap. But the president of, they kind of put the decision to the president, and he was, I forgot his name, but he was such an enlightened guy. And I went and told him, like, I just didn't mean any malice. I just felt like justified. I need to graduate. I've been here for a long time. I actually do good work. And he's like, look, you're talented, but with great power comes great responsibility. He gave me the Spider-Man line. And he said, for us to forgive you, you're going to have to go and harden the systems in the university against hacking. So I spent the summer trying to work with the engineers at the university to do that. But they hated me because I'm the guy that hacked into the system. So they would like blackball me. Like sometimes I'll show up to work and they wouldn't open the door and I can see them. Like, I can see you there, I'm knocking, and they wouldn't let me in and let me work with them. We did some stuff to fix it, and then I gained fame, maybe notoriety in the university, and actually got me my first job while I was in school. And it's a different story, but that job was at a startup that ended up making videos that were a big part of the Arab Spring.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I was part of some of these videos as well. But anyways, so one of the computer deans was like, "Hey, listen, I really helped you out computer science dean. It really helped you out when you had this problem, and I need you to work with me in order to do another research to hack into the university again. It's like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I don't want to get. No, it's like, no, you're not going to get in trouble. You're going to
sanctioned.
It's going to be sanctioned. So again, I worked tirelessly on that. This time, I invented a piece of software to help me do that, and I was able to like find more vulnerabilities. And so I show up at my project defense, and it's like a committee of different deans and students and all that. And so I go up and I start explaining my project, and like I run a scan against the university network, and it showed a bunch of red, like there's vulnerabilities. And one of the deans was like, "No, that's fake. That's not true." It started dawning on me that I was like a pawn in some kind of
power struggle.
So that guy was responsible for the university system, and this guy's using me too. I was like, oh shit! But like, I'm not gonna back down. I was like, no, that's not a lie. It's true. And so I like tap into that vulnerability, and I go in a database, and I'm like, all right, what do you want me to show? Your salary or your password? Like, show me my password. So I show him the password, and I was like, no, that's not my password. It was encrypted. But they also have in the database like a decrypt function, which they shouldn't have, but they had it. So I was like, decrypt to the password, and the password showed in the screen in the middle of the defense. And so he stood up, his face was red, and he shakes my hand, and he leaves to change his password.
That's awesome.
And I graduated, and they cut me some slack, and I was able to graduate.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's a great story. We'll end with that. Yeah. Thank you very much, brother. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
it was really
pleasure.
fun. That was a great conversation.
Thank you.
Your app, let everybody know about it.
Replit, REPLIT.
How do they find it? There it is.
Yeah.
Replit.
Yeah.
Replit.com.
Go make some apps.
Go make some apps, people. Avoid the whatever the hell's going to happen with AI. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Vacarme s'en va dans l'oubli éternel et Gustave.